So Heather, we're here to talk about your book, Victim to Victory, Healing Generational Abuse from My Bloodline. This is a great book. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for doing this interview. I really appreciate it. So you talked about living your life to please your mother early on in life, and I can relate. Talk to me about, well, I guess you did, about the mindset of coming out of that. How old were you? And what was that one thing that said, I have to start living my life to please myself and no one else, including your mom? Do you remember that moment when you had that epiphany?
I was in New York City and I was around 25 years old, maybe 25 and a half, 26 years old. I had a lot of rage and anger. And I was using tap dance as an outlet, but it wasn't really solving it. And I didn't know I had PTSD, so I was jittery, couldn't sit still, trying to escape reality. And I remember going to see, it's in my book, the shiatsu therapist, and that whole story of what played out. I think when I unraveled, when he was doing the body work, that I had been choked because I had amnesia at that point. And that's when a lot of clients come to me, they go, why am I acting this way? Or why do these patterns happen? And sometimes they don't remember their abuse because of the brain damage. Amnesia is much more common than what people think. So I think at that moment that I remember being choked, as scary as it was, and there was a moment where I was like, do I really want to remember this? Or do I want to close the door again? I was like, I got to remember this, is when I started to do the healing work and address myself and started to separate subtly with my family. Right. It was just small little details.
The act of being choked is interesting to me because when a person is being choked, you're literally trying to stop the oxygen from flowing. Mm-hmm. When an athlete, whether it's a basketball player or a football player, didn't make a perfect shot or a perfect throw on the biggest stage where it counts the most, we say that athlete choked. That athlete could not commit the act that they usually do over and over again at a time when it matters the most, and we call it choked. You see where I'm going with this? Mm-hmm. How many of us are walking around with we can't breathe life into anything. So much to the point where when it's time for us to act at the biggest moments in our life, we choke.
That's deep. I'm ready to cry. I've never had anyone interpret that act in the way. What you're saying to me, why it's becoming emotional to hear, is like, and part of it was strangling because she was attacking me from behind, but it was still the choking is, that's in the essence what, in the last decade, every type of person, rich, poor, black, white, Indian, they all have that issue that you're talking about. They don't have their voice, they don't have their authentic voice, they don't have their breath. They don't know how to breathe into the problems. They don't know how to breathe into themselves. They don't even realize that the greatest gift they have is their breath. We just take it for granted because we do it 20,000 times a day, right? I mean, so we just take it for granted. So in essence, me getting and realizing all of those gifts and being able to do what I do, which is really unique, I say that my mom was my greatest teacher and that this wasn't a mistake, but, you know, in essence, that was the classroom. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I think,
It makes me want to cry. It's so deep. It's so.
you know, after the physical choking was done, it seemed like there was an emotional and there was a figurative choking
Yeah.
that continued. You didn't have a voice because you were being choked in a literal sense.
No, yeah.
But
Oh, yeah. And then it lived in a pattern. And then when I started to heal my body and do these sciences, I was scared to tell my story. I was scared to talk. I was just scared. And my clients, a lot of my clients, it takes 4 or 5 sessions. They are too. It doesn't matter even what it's about. It could just be like, I hate my job, and they're scared shitless to admit it.
Right.
So I went through this period where the first time I spoke about even being abused, you know, people see me as confident because I definitely have the show business in me, qualities. But the truth is I would be, you know, a nervous wreck before I go out to give a talk or to say what happened to me. And afterwards I would be, it was a lot for my soul to be able to do that. It's taken this moment in time to have the strength and to be prepared, to have the equipment and the preparation to not only share what happened to me and these tools, but when people come to me traumatized, I have to hold that weight. You know, it's my responsibility, and I have the ability to do that now from all the experience of hellish and abandonment. I know what it feels like to have everybody leave your life and to be in so much pain that you don't know if you're going to be able to wake up tomorrow. And so when people hire me, they know that I'm going to not leave them in that hour or 2 hours if they're going to, you know, we're going to get to a point where you can get through the next week or the next day. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What I'm going to leave here with is taking a look in the mirror once I get home and asking myself the question, what is choking you right now? What is preventing you from having a voice? What's blocking the oxygen to give breath and life to a project that you want to do? What's clamping down?
It's deep. That I think that needs to go into my repertoire with my clients and my lectures. And I'm gonna sit with what you just stated out there. But for me, I think 2020 is about getting a 501c together, getting people who are good with business and grant writing, getting people who want to train and go into high schools and universities to help the youth have a voice, to not keep repeating the patterns we're talking about today. But I think with you, I think it's about making meaningful short films and things to help inspire people that they're not alone and that we're more alike, and how to grow spiritually through problems. We can't be afraid of problems anymore.
I was going to ask, what's next for Heather? Any more books? And so you're doing
that is it. That what I just stated, just
right.
Getting that team together, getting more the film and the creativity together, so that we can. So I want to form a collective community and build on it, so that we can get more and more of that social media, the music to be higher conscious music that resonates people with love, you know, makes them feel better, healing music, higher conscious movies that make people know that, you know, you ask how can we change people's behavior patterns, that's the best way.
That's right.
You know, give them examples, show them that in the movies.
Heather, if you can meet 3 persons, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Well, I would say Oprah, not because she's Oprah, but when you read my book, when I watched her television show at age 24, I had the light bulb moment because she had a couple different guest artists on at the time about childhood abuse. She was the only one who was talking about it. And David Pelzer, A Child Called It, was one. Van Zant, she wrote a lot of books. I think there were like 3 different authors on childhood abuse, and I was just glued to the TV because I don't know if I would have realized that my life, I was with the amnesia and all that, I might have stayed trapped. And so we're talking about the power of television or video or music. Oprah, we've heard millions of people say that her, she's impacted so many people. She's definitely impacted my life, so I would want to thank her. And I would want her to know about these healings, sciences. What would be the second person? I think I'm more drawn to meeting people on the other side in some ways than on this side. But as human beings, it would be, I don't know.
Okay.
I can't answer those last 2.
The first one was a good one.
It's very clear of the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the chapter titled Dysfunctional Patterns, after you had some difficulties teaching, you decided to go back to school, and you stated, and I quote, "I was in the master's program to prove I was smart, to fill my ego and do what society expected." You went on to say, and I quote, "The process felt wrong to me, and I knew my life experiences taught me more than any book could. I walked away feeling I needed to take the road less traveled and find my life's purpose." Can you expound on what is your life's purpose, and also do you still feel that way about the educational system?
I do, and I admire teachers. I think they're beautiful human beings. I feel that they are being boxed now. They're being boxed with a very strict curriculum. They're being boxed with books that are outdated with outdated information. So I believe the essence of teachers is something that I admire, and we should pay them more respect, more money. So I want to be clear about that. But as far as the systems of education, I think that we need creativity, problem solving. We need skills that we're going to use in everyday life more. I think that traditional schooling is going to be an interesting subject matter since technology changes every year. Marketing's changing every year. Things are changing so fast now. I don't know if a degree is even going to hold a bit of information that it did in the past. Right. This is where things are changing. For me, I think because I'm a pioneer of new sciences that have been around, but bringing them to the table to mental health. That's the way God wanted it to work out for me. If I had stayed into that system, I would not have gotten the Kundalini yoga education. I would have not started working with the brain protocols to rewire PTSD, OCD, childhood trauma, addiction. I would not have stumbled upon a student with the Japanese medical device.